Now, we come today to this 140th Psalm, and we have been calling attention as we've gone through the book of Psalms to the little cluster. Some of them are like a bunch of grapes, all of them related to the same bunch. Or maybe we should say a stalk of bananas. But they come in clusters. But the psalm that's before us today has absolutely no visible connection with the psalm that we've just looked at, that marvelous 139th Psalm, the theological psalm that spoke to us of the omniscience, the omnipresence, and the omnipotence of God. Now, this psalm here, it sets before us in prophecy the last days when the godly remnant of Israel are facing the Antichrist, that false Messiah, the man of sin. And this psalm actually is a prayer, and it is a prayer of David. And he's asking and praying for protection because of the fact that evil men are about him, and the evil man is about him. A man of violence that Paul wrote about in 2 Thessalonians. And David was under apparently some pressure at that particular time, and apparently it was, of course, that madman Saul, but it looks forward to the day when one even worse than Saul will arise. And, friends, it has an application for you and me today. Many of us that could pray this prayer: deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man, and preserve me from the violent man. Now, here is a designation of the Antichrist. He's called the evil man, and he's called the violent man. But John says there are many Antichrists, and I'm sure that many of us today have, in our experience, have come in contact with evil men. And this is the prayer of David: deliver me, preserve me. And, friends, that's always been my prayer, that, oh God, in the ministry, do not let me fall under the influence or the power of any one man. That's a dangerous thing when it happens to a preacher, or when he falls under the power of a little clique in a church. That's dangerous. In fact, it's dynamite. And then he goes on to say what this man does, who imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. They've sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adder's poison is under their lips. And you remember that Paul speaks of the human race as being like that. That's the kind of a tongue that we have, because the tongue you and I have got can absolutely destroy as much as any atom bomb can. It can ruin a man's character, blacken his life. That is, I should say, reputation. Can't change his character, of course. Then he continues to pray, keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked one, and preserve me from the violent man who have purpose to overthrow my goings. This is the prayer of David, you see. Then we have included in here imprecatory prayer, and we mean by that, here is a prayer that I do not think that this is a prayer for Christians to pray, but for the people that are in the Great Tribulation period, and they're back under law. I see no reason why they shouldn't pray this prayer. They are to pray for divine judgment and for divine wrath, but we are not to. That's not for this day of grace. Now listen to the prayer, verse 8. Grant not, O Lord, the desires of the wicked. Further not his wicked device, lest they exalt themselves. Now, he's praying against the Antichrist and against that wicked man. As for the head of those who compass me about, let the mischief of their own lips cover them. Let burning coals fall upon them. let them be cast into the fire and the deep pits, that they rise not up again. Now, I don't think that's a prayer today for a believer, because we've already been told today. Paul says in Romans 12, verse 19, "Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place to wrath, for it's written, Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him to drink. For in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire upon his hand. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good." In other words, don't let yourself be made bitter and carried away in enmity and trying to get even or revenge against someone because you've departed from the walk of faith. God will take care of it. And my experience has been when we keep our hands off, God will generally move in and deal with these folk today that attempt to thwart and hinder God's work. And God says, vengeance is mine. Turn the case over to me. Appeal your case to the Supreme Court. Just turn it over to me. And then you can do something good now for this individual. God puts us in an unusual place. Then he says here, verse 11, "Let not an evil speaker be established in the earth. Evil shall hunt the violent man to overthrow him." In other words, if we will not forsake the path of faith, there is sure victory. This is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith. And the wicked tongue is not going to be established or survive. The lie will finally be made known. Satan was a liar from the beginning, and he's got a lot of his urchins running around today, but they'll be exposed someday as liars.